No, okay, I'm not even doing an intro because we got to get right into this. Because okay, how's everyone doing today, guys? My name is Goes, and this episode. Okay, so this is Amphibia. This is episode 57 of the series, or episode 17 of season 3, the penultimate episode to the series. All in, and oh my gosh, this episode was insanity. Like, just, I mean, it exceeded my expectations. That's pretty much the best way I can describe it, because so much happens in this episode that I was like, wait, aren't they going to be holding this off for the next one? No, they just... Everything in terms of the actual invasion itself is in this episode, and nearly everything was tied up here. I mean, obviously there's a few things that are to be dealt with in the next episode, but just this whole... It just... Oh... I'm literally lost for words. It's like, I want to say, it's like 5. Literally, I'm sorry, I'm just so lost for words. This episode was so... This is easily the best episode of the series. That's without a doubt. Just everything that happens in this episode is... It's like I can't even nitpick anything because everything that happens in this episode just makes you feel these characters like you're rooting for them. You feel for them when something crazy happens or something bad happens, and you just want to see them succeed. So let's just roll right into it. Okay, yeah. So they don't waste any time with this episode. They go right into it. They have another flashback. This one is concerning Anne. It was the day before the day before her birthday, when she gets teleported, when Marcy and Sasha get teleported to Amphibia, and they basically pull a prank where Sasha takes over the intercoms, Marcy cuts the power, and unleashes a litter of puppies throughout the school. And while the principal while the principal likes Sasha's leadership, I guess, in terms of doing the prank, and Marcy's technological prowess, because I even love the principal being like, Marcy's probably gonna cure world hunger or something. And on the other hand, the principal feels like that Anne isn't any of that. Like, she doesn't take anything seriously. She doesn't like any responsibilities. And as we saw from season 1, that's kind of is what it was with Anne. She likes to take the easy way. She doesn't like to deal with anything difficult. And she mainly just goes with the flow. And so the principal is like, well, you can't be doing that. You actually got to think about what you want to be, what you want to do for the rest of your life. You can't just be going with the flow and taking the easy way. And it's like, yeah, there's some truth behind that. And of course, we cut to the present where the invasion's happening, and Andrias he just announces he's just like, hello Earth, congratulations on being conquered. It's just, okay. But then he's just like, there's good news and bad news. The good news is you have the resources for us to invade other more powerful worlds. The bad news is we're gonna have to kill you all to get that. And I loved how throughout, like, once we knew Andrias' intention was to invade Earth, the fans were like, well, Andrias has got to face the might of the US military. What's he going to do against that? And it's like, well, yeah. I honestly was just like, I can just picture Matt Brawley and the crew just sitting there with that, just seeing the constant memes and posts of like the US military in this, and they're just like, yeah, we know what we're doing. And it's like, well, to start, it's like they have an Independence Day style force field with the castle, which makes sense. Although I was surprised they didn't activate that went back in Amphibia, but I guess they were just saving it for this invasion. So that's how the military can't actually destroy the castle. But what about the robots? Well, they gotta. Andrias delivers a surprise. He drops in the two herons from the show, and they come and attack. And anytime the military tries to destroy them, the herons always have a way to counter it. Like, there's this one shot that I was just like, sure, why not? Is when the tanks literally fire their fire upon the herons. Herons just flap their wings with so much, which causes enough force to cause all the ballistic shells to turn back on the tanks, and just, why not? Why not? But luckily for, I guess I can say luckily for Earth, you know, the FBI, they had their heads up because of what happened in Escaping Amphibia. So the Boonchoys, Mr. X and Jenny, they're doing their thing. All the Terry and Dr. Jan, you know, they're going around, they're saving people as well. And so that's what's going on the ground. And meanwhile in the castle, you know, Anne and the crew, they got captured, and it's like, okay, how do we escape? But Frobo was able to get him out because he still has his laser eyes, so he just cuts a hole in the floor to get everyone out. They're able to escape on Joe Sparrow and Domino 2, granted before crashing in a pool, but they eventually they fight off some robots before they get picked up by Mr. X, Jenny, and the Boonchoys. So then they set up base and at St. John's, or is it St. James? I don't know. It's the school. It's the school. They set up shop at the school, and basically that's where they come up with a battle strategy. It's like, Polly. Okay, that thing turned on again. Okay, Polly suits up Robo 2, basically full on Gundam, I guess is the best way, with Mabel's shooting star sticker on his hand. Nice touch to that. Obviously Yunan, so Anne and Sasha, you know, they obviously have memories that they talk about. Hey, could you imagine being here just a few months ago and being like, oh, we're taking down this tyrant? And then of course it's like, is there, you know, they're spewing jokes left and right, and it's just, of course, then they're like, well, how are we gonna win? You know, it's like, if Darcy knows all our moves, but Anne's like, Darcy knows the old us. She doesn't know the new us. So of course, that's like the thing. It's like, okay, well, maybe we can outsmart her or something like that. And so, basically, yeah, I'm sorry, but yeah, just sitting there and watching this whole episode play out, it felt like, just every time they cut to commercial, I'm just like, no, I want more. And it's not even an hour episode, but honestly, I wanted it to keep going. I was just invested, because we obviously, all these episodes with these characters, all this build up to the final battle, it's just wondering what the heck is gonna happen, what's gonna happen. And so yeah, it's like the first half pretty much is just setting everything up, being like, okay, this is what we're doing, this is the plan, this is how we're gonna save them all, we gotta be able to do this. And then they execute the plan, and it goes like, we kind of have like Act 1 and Act 2 and Act 3 in terms of the plan, in terms of the actual execution of the plan. And what is the plan? Well, the plan is this: 2 teams. Why did I do this? 2 teams again. So this time around, Olivia, Yunan, Grime, and Sasha are gonna infiltrate the castle to try and turn off the shield, so that way they can have the military at least do some damage. And of course, like, wait, how are they gonna get in if the shield is surrounding the castle? Not the thrusters, you know, the gigantic thruster that's keeping the castle afloat, up in the air. I don't know. My brain is just my brain is just all over the place right now. Just, oh boy. Yeah, so that's how they get in. They just fly close to the thruster and they sneak in from underneath. So that's like, okay, they basically go in to disable the shields, while Anne, her parents, the Plantars, Mr. X, and Jenny, they are on the ground. They are fighting off. They're of course fighting off the robots, protecting the citizens, and dealing with the Herons as well. And this was a thing that I was like, oh, we're doing this. Is Pop points out that these are the two Herons that killed Sprig and Polly's parents, and it's like, all of a sudden, I mean, there was those theories of like, oh, are these the same two Herons? What's gonna happen? What's Hop gonna do? And it's like, well, in this case, it's like Sprig and Polly, of course, they also feel the trauma. Hop, of course, feels the trauma, and we get a flashback of like him witnessing the Herons destroying like Wartwood and all that. It's like, oh my gosh. But while all that's going on, we also have Marcy, who this entire time has been, of course, stuck inside her head of the core, and she was just in this like one room. She was just working on over 300 puzzles, and at first I'm like, wait, why would she be doing that in this room? It's like, what? But then I remember, oh wait, they mess with their heads, so it's like, it would make sense that she would be like, wait, what's going on? Like, and that's exactly what happens. Like, there's a few times where she's like, wait, I feel like I'm forgetting something. I don't know what though. And it's like, that's of course the core, mainly Andrias' father, manipulating her, trying to keep her in the core, make her believe that this is good. And one of the things that he does is he creates this medieval world for Marcy to venture throughout, go on quests, live a literal fantasy. But unlike Mableland in Gravity Falls, this one we don't really see much outside of the initial view we get. And also Marcy slowly realizes something's up, and that's because when Andrias' father brings in Anne and Sasha, Marcy slowly realizes that, wait a minute, these aren't my friends, because the thing that sends a signal is Sasha and Anne are like, we'll do whatever you want. We'll do whatever you want to do. We're here for everything that you want to do. And so that's like Marcy being like, they never liked what I liked. They never had my interests. They never would do what I wanted to do. These aren't my friends. It's like she realizes that, and of course it's like, she of course realizes her mistakes that she made, and she's having that moment just being like, I never should have brought them here. I never should have tried to force my likings on her, no matter how much it hurt me that they didn't like any of my interests. And yeah, it's like, it's a very intriguing thing to have that Marcy realize that, just being like, I mean, yes, because it's like, if there's definitely there's when it comes to stuff that happens like that, like if there's like friends with interests, you're gonna have friends who may not like the same things that you like, but that doesn't mean, but of course at the same time, it's like, they should be open to the things that you're interested in, and if they don't like them because it's not their thing, that's fine. But if they just flat out ignore you because of them, or if they just don't care about your interests from the start, then yeah, that's not exactly something they should be doing. But at the same time, you shouldn't be the one forcing it on them. And so that's a lesson that Marcy kind of realizes in that moment. It's like, yeah, maybe they didn't care about what I liked, but that doesn't give me the right to force it on them. And of course she has that moment being like, I never should have done it. I hope, and it's like, they'll probably never forgive me. I hope they forgive me, but I don't know if they will. And it's like, I can't do this anymore. I gotta escape this fantasy. And that's when it's like, Andrias' father is like, Well then, you will spend the rest of your days in here in nothing but pitch black darkness. And of course, and Marcy, at first I was worried, I was wondering how Marcy was going to react to that, because literally the entire fantasy world goes dark and everything around her goes dark, and it's like, she's literally just in this black void, and it's like, what is she going to say? And then she's just like, and Sasha, I believe in you. And it's like, oh. Okay, I just summed up that entire Marcy arc in like, I don't know, a few minutes, when it took a good chunk of the episode, because, I mean, it was an emotional moment, but I mean, at the same time, I don't know how much time I have on my camera. I really am just powering through this stuff right now, so let's just get into it. So that's that out of the way. So, of course, we have the two plans going on. We have the Plantars, the Boonchoys, Mr. X, and Jenny. Of course, they're battling the robots, but then they gotta deal with the herons. And at first, Hop Hop, Polly, and Sprig, they're shook by the fact that it's the same herons that killed their family. So it's like, they don't know what to do. But then Anne tries to snap him out of it, and say she can't fight him off alone because she doesn't want to use all of her calamity powers at that moment. She's trying to save up her energy. But then the Boonchoys get threatened by, they're being attacked by the herons, and that's what snaps the Plantars out of it. They're like, it's the fashion of overcoming your fear because other people are in danger. You have to save them. It's especially people that you care about, and in that case, that's what the Plantars do, because it's the Boonchoys became their family too, and it's you mess with our family again, we're gonna come after you, and that's exactly what they do. And it's just, oh my god, it's clear where the budget went for this episode, or where the budget went for the season, because so much just happens. The animation, the visuals, the backgrounds, the freaking anime, I mean, we knew Amphibia had that anime style here and there, but it's just on full display in this episode. Just the amount of callbacks and shout outs to other animes. I mean, I definitely didn't catch them all, and I probably caught way less than I think I initially, because I mean, I'm just gonna say, when it comes to animes, I don't watch a lot of animes, mainly because I think the main reason is because I just hadn't really had access to a lot of animes when growing up. I think honestly, the closest thing I had to an anime was Avatar: The Last Airbender. That's the closest thing I ever had to an anime. And I know some people are like, it is an anime, but it's no, it's animation. I don't want to, you know what, I'm not going to open that can of worms, because I'm going to talk about this episode. But, yeah, we have this insane battle with the herons, with the Plantars. They rope-a-dope one of the herons, and I love at first, it's just go for the legs, just tie around its legs, but it's herons can fly, so of course they fly, and then it's go for the wings then, and they do, and it's such a cool maneuver, and it's it's a nice little callback to season 1 when they were battling the praying mantis, and they take out the herons, and then the Plantars, with their powers combined, they do the plantar hunting dance, or the mating dance, which then gets the herons, and I was like, that is brilliant. And of course, the herons are under their control, so what do the Plantars have them do? Kill all the robots! So that's exactly what the herons do. They start attacking all the robots, and then Darcy and Andrias, of course, are meanwhile just watching it from the castle, and they're like, whoop, this is, and so Andrias is like, alright, time for a rematch with Anne Boonchoy, and he gets into this insanely huge mech, and challenges Anne to a one-on-one. He literally announces it on TV, he's like, I will make a deal with you, Earth. I will call off this invasion and leave if Anne Boonchoy beats me in a one-on-one. And it's like, okay. And of course, Anne at that moment, they're like, no, don't do it, Anne, you can't. But it's like, And he's just like, oh, by the way, did I forget to mention if you refuse to fight me, I have, he blows up the Hollywood Hill. He blows up Hollywood Hills, which is just like, oh boy. Because like in the promo, you just see the Hollywood sign blow up, but it's like, no, he literally put a crater, he literally destroyed like the Hollywood Hills with that blast, and it's like, you gotta fight him. And that's exactly what Anne does. Like, Anne's like, holding, she's just looking at she's looking at Andrias on top of the, I don't know what tower it is in LA, being because I've never been to LA, and I don't know what the tower is in LA, but it's just like the tower in LA. Anne's looking up to it where Andrias is, and she's like, I gotta do this. It's not the easy way, it's not easy, it's probably not the right choice. I mean, well, right, wrong, easy, hard is like, she knows what she has to do. And so she does. She goes and challenges Andrias to the one-on-one, and that's when she goes Calamity. And we get this really epic battle. All the while, we have everything going on inside with Olivia, Yunan, who I just realized they didn't really focus much on Olivia and Yunan. Like, originally, Grime, Sasha, and Olivia and Yunan, they're infiltrating the castle, but then all the cloak Frobos show up, and they have that sinister laugh, and I'm like, I want to rip you guys apart. And so Olivia and Yunan are like, go, we'll hold them off. And that's pretty much it for the two. Like, they don't get much screen time after that. We don't get to see them fight the cloak Frobos, but because we have Grime and Sasha with a battle against Darcy, and she has one of the most insane sighs, which is probably from a reference to an anime that I have no idea. I really don't know. I've seen like crazy sighs like that, and I'm thinking that has to be from an anime. And so Darcy, Grime, and Sasha, they battle it out, and it's really cool to see the two different fights going on, because like you have the big crazy anime style battle with a Super Saiyan Anne and a giant mech Andrias, and then you have this 2-on-1 basically duel with Sasha who has two swords, Grime with Barrel's Warhammer, and then Darcy with her side. It's like, basically it's two very distinct fights, but two very intense fights, and it's like, oh, what the heck, what's gonna happen? It's like everything with Anne is insane, because at first it's like she's getting her butt kicked. I mean, she literally gets punched through buildings collapse, she is flying over the place, dodging missiles, it's insanity, and it's just like, oh, what's gonna happen, but of course she gets some good licks in. It's like, the fighting it's crazy, it's intense, it's awesome, it's animated so well. The music in this episode is absolutely phenomenal. I want the playlist. I want the soundtrack of this episode. Not even like any of the episodes before. Okay, actually, that's a lie. I do want the soundtrack of the other episodes, but this episode especially, just all the song choices, the tones, the music, the instruments, everything in this battle is insane, and I love the music that add to the mayhem. Oh, and while the battle outside with Anne and Andrias is going on, we also, like I said, the battle with Darcy, Sasha, and Grime. And at first, things aren't going somewhere else, because it's Darcy, like she has the knowledge of who knows how many totes and Marcy, so she's just going at it. And at first, I was like, when this, I'll admit, I was like, if they went all the way with this, I would have been fine, but at the same time, I would have been like, but they did something that I bet so many people were gonna be like, you are so clever. And that's because one of the many things that people were trying to predict for the final episodes was, because there was so, like, people were like, oh, Anne's gonna lose an arm, or Sasha's gonna lose an eye, or Hop Hop's gonna die, something. And in this, it's, I'll give them this, because, I mean, it's Disney, so they're probably like, you gotta make it not look too gruesome. And that's, so, Darcy gets Sasha on the ground, and she's about to deliver the death blow, and then Grime comes in, and they have the red backdrop with the black silhouette of Grime's arm gone. That's the wrong arm. Grime's arm gone. It is such a just like, because it's like you see the slash, you have the black screen, you're like, what happens? Then you have the red silhouette, and you see Grime's arm gone, and you're like, it's just, you're just like, what? And then it's like Grime's lying on the ground. You think, oh, is he gonna die? No, he's fine. It's just his arm, right? And he passes out, and then Sasha just, I'll say this too. I thought Sasha was gonna actually like somehow gain her calamity powers back, because I'm like, if there's something that will trigger it, it has to be Grime. It has to be thinking Grime's dead, right? And it doesn't happen, but she still like unleashes just a fury on Darcy. Just the way she's fighting, the way she's so angry. It's basically like Anakin Skywalker. It's like just the amount of anger she has against Darcy, just trying to slice her, and it's great. It's just so emotional, because you know Sasha wants to save Marcy, but at the same time it's like, this is a dark entity and she has to fight it. It's like, but okay, going back outside, Anne and Andrias, their fight continues, and there's even a break in between because Anne gets knocked out and she needs another boost, and it's like, you have the Plantars, the Boonchoys, they're giving encouragement because Mr. X is like, here's where your tax dollars are going. He activates these bunch of speakers in literally the street lamps. He hacks the screens, and he makes a live stream of the Boonchoys, cheering in, Boonchoys and Plantars cheering in on all while Anne's favorite song is playing in the background, and it's just, she gets her boost. She continues the fight with Andrias. She's going absolutely insane. She's delivering blow after blow after blow, and it seems like the fight's over because it seems like she beat Andrias, but then her calamity powers run out, and you're just like, no, we were so close. And I was like, is this where I'm like, this is the point of the episode. I'm like, is it gonna end here? Is it gonna end here? Is it gonna end here? And it's like, nope. And it's just insanity. And then eventually, Sprig, it's like Sprig's like, oh, we gotta do something. It's like he's looking in his pockets trying to find some boom shrooms. He accidentally drops Leif's letter. Mr. X picks it up, and of course, government agent, of course, he would have like his glasses hooked with like different lenses and stuff. He realizes that there's a letter, there actually is a letter on the thing, and that's when Sprig's like, we gotta go, I gotta get up there. And I love that. I love this fact that it's a nice callback, because it's like, you think about Sprig in season 1, he would just jump into action, he would jump into danger without a second thought, because he's like, I gotta do it. And that's exactly what he does here. But you know the growth that he's had through this series, and you know that he's doing this for the exact right reason. And that's just, the way he grabs the letter, he runs to the heron. I was like, no, Sprig, get back here, it's too dangerous. It's like, he doesn't care. He gets on the heron, he flies to Andrias, and at first I'm like, wait, what's he gonna do? Is he gonna just be like, Andrias, stop? And it's like, kinda, that's kinda what happens. But then the heron, like, tries to attack Andrias, and then Andrias just grabs it and throws it. He literally just throws it. It's ridiculous. It's nuts. But Sprig then is like, I have a message from Leif. And of course, that's when Andrias just was like, how do you know that name? And it's like, oh, so then we get Sprig. He reads the letter from Leif, and this really surprised me. And that's we knew Leif took the box, and we knew that she dropped it off in Amphibia, but most of us theorized she left. Like, she left Amphibia, she went to Earth, she hid out on her. No, she just went and dropped off the box. That's it. And she came back, and it's like, so it's like, no, because, I mean, granted, it's like, well, I mean, if she's an ancestor of Sprig, then how does this make sense? It's like, well, maybe she had family, you know, before she left, or maybe she was a kid, and like her parents, and maybe she had like a sibling. No, like she left Andrias. Like, so she probably lived in Utopia, and like that probably makes the most logical sense. She lived in Utopia, but after she had to leave, she ran off, went to Wartwood, made a home, built a home, had a family, you know, started farming, had a family, did everything, you know, grew up. It's like, she had the letter to Andrias basically saying, like, I had to do this, and I'm sorry I have to do this, but I want you to know you and Beryl will always be in my heart. I love you. You are my friends. You're like a family to me. I couldn't do this. I didn't want to do this, but I had to. I'm sorry. It's like all of that. And it's just it's such an emotional moment for Andrias. And it's just like, it's an emotional moment for the audience too, because like, you know that sense of betrayal, but of course Andrias is just like, there's no, I can't. He's like, I can't. He's like, for 1,000 years, the things that I've done, there's no turning back. He's like, he basically, he sees it, then he's long gone. He can't change what's happened. And of course, for Darcy, who also got a mad slice on Sasha after they continue with their fight, notices that like Andrias is, you know, breaking down, and it's like, are you kidding me? And so Darcy is able to take control because the crown is linked to the core, so the core takes control of Andrias, but it's enough for Sasha to use it as a distraction because Darcy is looking off into the distance. And again, another awesome slice animation, and Sasha and Darcy's just like, ha, you missed. And then I love Sasha's response just being like, wanna bet? It's just, I was like, again, this is just me the whole time just being like, what happens if you cut the cord linked to her head? Well, easy. It's just, oh my god, it was nuts just seeing Darcy freak out, just being like, would you have any idea what you've done? You have any idea what you've done? Like, having it be Marcy's stream is like it's a nice little callback to Olivia Yunan, but at the same time, it's like, is this the end of the core? Is this how the core goes out? Although, I'll admit, in terms of villains getting their comeuppance, I'll never forget Bill's from Gravity Falls. I'll give you anything! Money, fame, riches, infinite power, your own galaxy, please! I'll never forget that. That's such a great line by Bill, but here it's just Darcy she loses the connection, thus she can't have an actual connection, a conscience. She passes out, and then Andrias is able to gain his sentience, but of course Anne's like, I gotta finish this. She goes to deliver the final blow, and this part, I didn't know how to feel about this part, because it's just like, Andrias is there, he's got the mech, he's got the suit, but then he's reminiscing through Leif's letter, and he's like, and one of the things that Leif mentioned was letting Andrias not keep his heart closed. He has to open it back up. And I completely forgot to mention this. There was also a flashback with Marcy when she first met King Andrias at Utopia, and I thought it was pretty funny with Andrias. You know, he's just sitting in his throne, and he's got a robe on. He's just drinking, and he's just like, Marcy comes in, and Marcy is just beyond ecstatic. She's like, whoa, you are way bigger than I thought. And then she like, can I fit in your pocket? She literally hops in the pocket, and she's like, oh, you know what this rope means? A nice little pin. And I love how Olivia's just like, ah. And then of course you have that pause, but then Andrias laughs, and he's just like, oh, that was nice, Master Marcy. It's like that little friendship, and there's even the moment with Andrias and the core being like, they should, like the core's just like, you should kill her, and it's like, we probably shouldn't. I mean, what if she can help us find the box? What if we can drain the powers through the temples, which still hasn't been explained. I am curious to see if that'll ever be explained in terms of like how the temples were made. Because like he knew of the temples. He knew the temples were important, but I guess we never know how, or maybe he created them. Oh no, I don't know. I completely again, so much happens in this episode. I just need, but yeah. So basically, he goes through all of those memories, that the letter from Leif, and it's just insane. He takes off the armor and literally just accepts it. He just accepts his fate. And even Anne's just like, she's flying at him full force, and she still delivers the blow, but it's just like the look on her face being like, what? And just, Andrias, I was like, did they kill him? But it turns out Andrias was part cyborg, because, I mean, like he said, for living over 1,000 years, you have to pay the price. So, like, yeah, he literally is part machine, and I guess that makes sense. And like that's kind of like their way around the gore that could have been, because he literally is just like, he's missing a leg and an arm, like part of his body's just ripped up, but it's all machine, so it's like, we can get away with that. But yeah, so that's Andrias's end, and of course people are like, wow, we won. And even, I mean, with Darcy being defeated, it's like, Marcy, are you still in there? Marcy wakes up, eventually Anne and the crew, they get back to the castle, they meet up. Marcy, of course, apologizes. Anne and Sasha are like, we forgive you. We know we've done bad. We know the things that we've done will never be undone, but we can't let that decide our future. We'll make sure we gotta move on from that, but at the same time, we know that the future is gonna be unpredictable. We know there's gonna be things that can pull us apart, but what we have will stay. We know that, because it doesn't matter how far we are from each other, it doesn't matter what happens, we're still this trio, because like this is a trio that's been friends since they were little kids, so it's like this is a lifelong friendship that they've had so far, and it's like just the three of them. Like, granted, I know some people who are like, there's no way they can be friends after this, and I'm like, maybe granted, they all have their own arcs in terms of like realizing the mistakes that they made. Well, I mean, Sasha and Marcy definitely, and it's really, I mean, a part of me feels like it was a tad rushed, but just the amount of insanity and the amount that happens in this episode, I think, is enough to somewhat justify it. And I say somewhat because we still have an episode left, and it's like, the group, they grow, they get back together, and it's like, all right, now we just gotta get back to Amphibia, let the people know that this reign of terror is over, and we can just get the box, and I don't know, we'll figure it out from there. And it's like, okay, and it's like a nice moment, but it's like, because we know there's one episode left, I'm like, what's the catch? What's gonna happen? I'm like, this isn't gonna be like Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, where you're gonna have like ending upon ending, because that would be a really boring series finale. I say boring because it's like, if it's nothing but endings, it's like, well, then why didn't you just tag it on to this? Like, an hour and a half movie, maybe. That would have been cool, an hour and a half movie. Or, well, not really an hour and a half, because this is like, 45 minutes or something. But, we see the core. Honestly, a part of me was like, wait, what if its one weakness is just cutting the cord that's linked to it? Wouldn't that be, doesn't it have like a precaution for that? It does, because of course the helmet has legs. The helmet just sprouts legs and scurries off like it's the thing. So, of course it's like, what's it gonna do? But then, the group returns to Amphibia, and it's like, whew. That was intense. Like, they return, the army's still there, and they're fighting the robots that are still there, but of course the castle comes back and it's like, everyone, the battle is over! Darcy and Andrias have been defeated! Whoa! And it's like, yeah, we did it! Oh! And of course, I love Sasha just being like, whoa, we did it, and we didn't have to worry about that prophecy. And then Marcy's like, prophecy? What prophecy? And it's like, oh boy. Oh yeah, completely forgot to mention, Sasha made a hilarious joke about this just being, because, you know, the three of them are talking, and it's like, oh, and it's like, can you believe that we just took down a tyrannical empire from another another world? And Sasha's like, yeah, that's gonna be one heck of a job resume on a job application, or no, one heck of a feat on a job application. It's like, yeah, and even Marcy chimes in with being like, yeah, and it's all over the news, so yeah, people would believe it. It's like, yeah, it's not, that's true. But yeah, so we got but anyway, back to the freaking Amphibia here. Sasha, you know, the three, you know, they're all, the entire group is reconciling, and of course Sprig's just like, wow, it's over. You know, then he's just like, wait, is it just me, or is that moon getting bigger? It's like, yeah. Because if we remember from the Core in the Game, we saw Leif's vision of the freaking moon coming. So it's like, and of course it's like, well, considering that they moved an entire castle between dimensions, it's probably gonna cause some gravitational shift or something. And of course that's where they leave it, just being like, oh, the moon's coming. And it's like, that's it for this episode. So of course we know that this final episode is going to be dealing with that and being like the prophecy, and yeah, oh my god, this episode, it is insane. It is just truly insane. It's like, I mean, we've had like how many series finales that do like the 4-part structure, you know? It's like, I mean, well, okay, I'm only thinking of Gravity Falls and Avatar: The Last Airbender, just being like, you know, episode 1 is really just setting up like this whole thing, and then episode 2 is like doing this like little side quest thing or preparing for the final battle. Episode 3 is said final battle, and then episode 4 is like the tail end of the final battle, and then the, you know, the aftermath of that. And it's like, no, this one, it's like, this whole episode is just, this is the start, the setup, the final battle, and the end of the final battle. And so this final, the hardest thing, which is gonna premiere next week, that's gonna be basically this whole prophecy, aftermath, and I'm not ready, guys. It's just this, this episode was oh my gosh, this episode, I love it. This episode was great. I loved it, and I'm literally lost for words. This episode was fantastic. There's probably going to be a lot of there's probably going to be some like nitpicks or something that I missed, but I just didn't care. I was just in for the ride, just to see where all would go, and I was not disappointed. I was not disappointed at all. They knew when to buckle down and be like, we are going to deliver. And that's exactly what they did here, and whew. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's about it for this one. So, one episode left, guys. The hardest thing. I don't know, man. I don't know.